Romance in Western RPGs have always been a staple, often a selling point, and sometimes even the defining feature of a game. From the early days of Baldur's Gate 2 with its subtle companion interactions to the sprawling romance systems of Mass Effect and Dragon Age, players have come to expect the option to flirt, date, and sometimes even go to bed with multiple party members throughout their journey. These mechanics have become synonymous with the genre itself, shaping player expectations and often becoming a major talking point in reviews and online discussions. However, when Avowed launched in February 2025, developed by Obsidian Entertainment, the studio made it clear from the outset, don't expect a traditional romance system. And yet, beneath this expectation defying design lies a romance moment that arguably hits harder than most modern RPGs, precisely because it isn't tied to a mechanical system or affinity points. Before the game's release, Carrie Patel, the game director, told IGN that the team was focused on building thoughtful, authentic relationships rather than implementing a romance system. She emphasized that if a romance is going to exist in a game, it must feel earned and meaningful, deeply tied to a character's arc and personal growth. This philosophy is clearly evident in Avowed. Unlike many other RPGs where romance options can feel like side quests or mechanical checklists, in Avowed, romance emerges naturally from character development, emotional vulnerability, and the shared experiences between the player and their companions. In other words, it's not about collecting points or ticking off dialogue options, it's about connecting with another character on a genuinely human level. Avowed doesn't have a romance mechanic like most Western RPGs. So here's the question. Does a game need a flashy system or meter to make a romantic moment feel real? Or can subtlety and emotional growth hit even harder? If there's going to be a romantic storyline in a game or romance between two characters, it should just happen. It shouldn't be forced or the focus, but something that can develop as the player gets invested in these characters. Especially in an RPG where the player models the protagonist through their choices, romance should unfold naturally without being forced or heavily suggested. From my perspective, that's exactly what makes Avowed's approach so refreshing. To fully appreciate why Avowed's approach is so different, it's worth looking at how romance mechanics have traditionally functioned in RPGs. BioWare, a one time powerhouse of the genre, pioneered the system in the early 2000s, introducing romanceable companions in Baldur's Gate 2 Shadows of AMN, and later refining the concept in the Mass Effect and Dragon Age series. In these games, players control a customizable protagonist, a blank slate designed to reflect the player's choices, who can flirt, date, or romance multiple attractive party members. Affinity meters, dialogue choices, and branching storylines create a system where relationships become something to manage and optimize, often turning emotional bonds into gameplay mechanics. While this method can be fun and even humorous, it also has the potential to hollow out the emotional impact of romance, reducing meaningful connections to a series of dialogue trees and stat checks. Avowed breaks away from this trend. You play as a custom envoy from the Edoran Empire sent into the lawless living lands to investigate the mysterious Dream Scourge plague. Throughout your journey, you recruit four companions, only two of whom you can bring on expeditions at any given time. While at first glance this setup might feel reminiscent of a BioWare style RPG, the similarities end there. Unlike other Western RPGs, campfire conversations with companions in Avowed never veer toward flirtation or innuendo. For example, an early dialogue about training between a player and a companion revolves entirely around improving combat skills, learning to take more damage, strike harder, or improve versatility. There's no ham fisted flirting, no sexualized banter, no overt cues that a romance option exists. These interactions are grounded, practical, and meaningful, allowing the characters' personalities and emotional histories to shine without distraction. The true romance of About centers on Kai, the first companion you meet, voiced by Brandon Keener, who also famously voiced Garrus in the Mass Effect series. Kai is an Amuan mercenary with a deeply complicated past. He deserted the Rauatine Navy, left his home of Thirdborn 6 years prior, and carries unresolved grief related to Tama, the deceased leader of his mercenary squad. Throughout the game, players slowly uncover Kai's past through contemplative fireside chats and story driven moments, gradually learning about his regrets, guilt, and emotional scars. These moments are more than exposition. They form the foundation for the game's romance arc, tying the player's potential relationship with Kai directly to his personal growth. The romance unfolds subtly yet powerfully. As Kai opens up about Tama, the envoy helps him recognize that Tama had deep feelings for him and that he reciprocated those feelings, but was too oblivious to notice them at the time. The player's guidance allows Kai to confront his past, to understand why he left, why he avoided Thirdborn, and ultimately how to process his grief and guilt. It's only after he achieves this emotional closure that the possibility for romance emerges. When the player finally expresses romantic interest, Kai's response is understated and profound. If you want to be with me after everything you've seen, and if you still feel that way once we've finished our journey, I want that too. There's no overt sexual content, no cinematic embrace, no dramatic cutscene. Just a quiet human acknowledgement that Kai is ready to move forward and connect with someone again, thanks to the growth he experienced throughout the story. The moment when Kai finally acknowledges his feelings is understated but incredibly powerful. It makes me reflect. Why do so many RPGs overcomplicate romance with meters and checklists when the simplest gestures, moments of understanding, shared growth, and quiet acknowledgement can be far more meaningful? Personally, I think this is the kind of natural earned romance that games should aim for, letting it happen as players become invested in the characters rather than forcing it through mechanics. This approach is what sets Avowed's romance apart. By removing the game like systems traditionally associated with companion relationships, Obsidian allows romance to feel earned, natural, and deeply tied to narrative and character development. Patel herself described this approach as hidden rather than overt. There's no love meter, no prompts, and no guarantee players will stumble upon it. Instead, if you engage with Kai in the ways that reflect genuine care and empathy, the romantic moment will emerge organically by the end of the game. The result is one of the most emotionally resonant romance arcs in a modern Western RPG, precisely because it feels real rather than mechanical. The epilogue reinforces this subtle, heartfelt approach. It reflects on Kai's chance at love, noting that while he believed his opportunity for romance died with Tama, the envoy's support and understanding have given him a new chance with someone who sees, knows, and accepts him as he truly is. That quiet culmination is a breath of fresh air in a genre often dominated by flashy romance options and sexualized content. It proves that romance doesn't need to be a system to be meaningful, it can be a shared journey of emotional growth and human connection. In short, Avowed demonstrates that romance doesn't need to be flashy or mechanical to be effective. It raises an important question. Should more RPGs let romance happen organically as part of the story and character development rather than making it a system to manage? From my perspective, the answer is yes. When romance is allowed to merge naturally, it can be subtle, meaningful, and emotionally resonant, the kind of moment that lingers with you long after the credits roll. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Avowed's unique approach to romance, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any future uploads. And if you want to support the channel, check out my Patreon, where the latest exclusive video is a look at the rise and fall of the Sega Dreamcast. Thanks for watching, and as always, game on.